Hello friends, welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to talk about how you can use design elements to really convey what your brand stands for and how you can take cues from the brand itself for coming up with those elements. For this purpose, I have taken an alternate MBA B school. And this is almost like a cohort based course, and we will be doing the branding exercise for that. So I started off by just getting a feel of what this project could look like, or what this school or cohort based course could look like. If you are doing this for a real project, you can talk to the stakeholders, and while you are talking to them, you can write down the keywords that come into your mind when you hear the descriptions. So these are the things that I have taken, like mentors, practical exposure, real assignments, feedbacks, guest lectures, and stuff like that. So these words help you give some cue for your visual design as well, and also for the mood boards and research in general. And I started out for this project by just looking at the logos of existing famous B schools in India, that is the IIMs. Different IIMs were the inspiration, and I also went ahead and checked some logos of the international B schools, and from just right off the bat I knew that blue was the dominant color in this space in general. But just to quantify this insight, I've collected all these logos in one slide and put a massive blur on the screen. So this detached my vision from the actual logo and gave me some sense of color. Now I quickly knew that blue was the dominant color here, and there was also a complementary shade of oranges, reds, or some shade of yellow. So I knew that what was required for specific design in this case, and especially when it comes to B schools. So now the general direction of the color scheme was set, that is the blue was the dominant primary color. Now I wanted this brand's values to inform that color. So I checked, I just made some blue hues and some color palettes, and started checking these things, like the things that I wanted to convey through my color palette, like trust, premiumness, authenticity, pluralism. So these are the things that you want to check when you select, and like for example different brands, these things could differ. So you have to really sit down with the stakeholders and check what are the values that you want to convey. Next, so the colors I selected were deeper blue and ivory white. Now I wanted to convey a sense of premiumness. So for that purpose, I took the example of like things which are like totally matte black, or things which are really white are the most fundamental things that appear premium. So I knew that I needed some really one brighter shade as a premium color to create that contrast with a really dark thing. So I went ahead with a very deep navy blue shade and a ivory white. So this was the primary thing, that this would be the dominant color in all my design. Now I wanted, as I said, there was a tinge of a warmer color. So for the secondary ones, I selected two basically warmer shades of pink and oranges, and one really same shade of blue, so that it would complement with the darker hue that I have. And also one thing I noticed across board for all the college and university stuff, that they really have this gradient thing going on, and most of the time most of the university designs are not very flat. They always use some sort of depth and like gradients. So I created some gradients out of these for primary and secondary palette itself. So these would be even used for as a secondary in general a palette itself. Now especially on the main part of this video, that is the element, and for the first element I just took the inspiration from business suits. Now business suits are quite cliche, but since this is a new MBA, new type of MBA which is online, I wanted to convey this almost a sense of authenticity with this callback to this classical thing. And for business suit, I took the form of this specific fold on the collar and the handkerchief fold that we put in the pocket. So and now these are the like almost a finished form of my initial sketches. These forms were used like almost like a separator or a container. In this case, it's dividing the page. It can be used as a separator within the page itself, like here. And so these were the things. These are the ways in which you can incorporate any shape. so almost like a divider or a container. I will show you the actual usage of these containers as well. Next thing, I wanted to have a simpler elements. Now paths were something that were recurring in this overall conversation, in this overall brand, where people would take this path of a career or an MBA and it would change their life. So I wanted to show that with like a strokes or something which is like runs parallel and gives you a sense of path. So I took like a simple strokes and I decided to use that across like some designs, and with my whatever gradients I have decided earlier, I put it on that. Now so for example, for Instagram carousel, it would extend across slides to give that connectivity. As you can see here, this runs and in the end it joins here. It could go like this, and this could be a container in the next slide. Now I wanted to have some patterns. Patterns are a thing which most of the time e-commerce, something business which most of the time sells some product has a pattern for their wrapping paper and stuff, and rarely we see services or like e-learning things have a pattern in their branding. So I wanted to have that X factor in this one, and this is a quite common pattern of like two triangles facing each other, and this is almost like a simplified form of a tie, and which is like almost a iconology wise, this was like a very MBA thing to do. So I thought this would really help, and I tested out with different color combinations, and in the final version I decided to for the lighter backgrounds I would use this one, like basically the same color scheme, and it fit. When I tested, it was fitting on both darker and the lighter backgrounds. Now to just convey what all these things and elements when they come together, how they would look, I created an example case study or an Instagram carousel. So as you can see, the collar pattern from the business suit gives you a good, like almost like a leading line for the next swipe, and also the way you style your images for your brand is really helpful. Like it conveys that theme of your brand. In the next slide, as I showed you, the lines are the separators, and basically I use those lines to separate, like make sections, and the primary color here is like in an overlay of the image. So there's a lot of imagery going on, and it is customized to the brand. Now I have also incorporated this pattern, although you can just not use it here. You can use it somewhere where there's like a lot of negative space, but for example I have put it here. So it is a good way to customize your image according to the brand. In the next one, as you can see, this holds like a really good container for like swipe pages, page numbers and stuff like that. And as you can see here also, it is getting really good on with the overlay and the gradient. Especially the orange and the pink gradient pops really up with the darker blue color. Now this is a simpler version where I have overlaid the existing image with the lighter version of blue that I showed in the secondary palette. Now this was a blank image, and as you can see here, you can use those types of patterns basically to fill extra stuff. Also it's not recommended to always fill the blank space, but the pattern can be useful in anywhere in such cases especially. Now in the Twitter header, as you can see, this is basically amalgamation of all the things that I showed earlier. This has a like really dark primary container, and secondary gradient is also used here, and the secondary color of blue is also used here, and this pattern has come really well on the overlay. Now this is almost like a story. Now as you can see here also, the swipe up is used with this help of a fold. Now like this, you can come up with different elements that really help you to show what your brand stands for and what your brand's services are. And you can take those inspiration for those elements from the brand itself, like what they do and what is the culture around that brand. So that's it for this video. If you like this video, please hit subscribe button and leave a comment what you think about this video, and you can reach out to me. All the links are in the description. So I will see you in the next video.